Hey, so I had this idea. Check it out real quick. All right, so let's talk through what I'm thinking. Stay tuned. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Jermaine Morgan TV. Listen, it's been a while for some of you guys. If you've been watching the old videos, then maybe it hadn't been long enough for you. But for the guys who've been around for the grooves and motivation and all that kind of stuff, you know I've been away. I took a little sabbatical for a while. I wanted to just kind of rethink some of the things as to what I was doing on the channel. So I took a little bit of time away and just to kind of refresh my mind. Nonetheless, I am back. Here's a new video, but I had this idea. I had this groove idea. You guys know that I often make these backing tracks for you to practice to. So I figured that it would be pretty cool for me to bring you in behind the scenes on the process of me creating these, so you kind of see what I'm doing when I'm creating them. And keep in mind, for me, this is not like a full-blown production. If I'm thinking of something that I'm doing for an artist, oftentimes I'm bringing in other guys. I lay the idea down, I lay the concept down so the guys can come in basically and re-record my ideas. Like I call in better drummers, I'll call in like better keyboard players, all those kind of things. But what you're getting to see basically how I create the rough ideas and come up with what I'm gonna do. So here's a little bit of the idea that I had for drums. So check it out real quick. So after I got to feeling that groove pretty good, I decided, hey man, let me add a little shaker to this. Shaker would be really cool. So after we added that in there, of course, I kept building it, adding the different percussion elements and that kind of thing. So as I started working through these different bass parts, I kind of was hearing something. Obviously, this groove is in the key of A flat. So I was kind of hearing something, just the old school soulful, you know. So I was hearing something kind of in that neighborhood in terms of groove wise. So I just really started to build off of that. So here's kind of what I landed on. Like after playing around with this for a little while, I had to pull out the old school Ibanez to really kind of capture the sound that I was looking for, because, you know, again, this is a real old school vibe. So I started hearing something and I started playing around with so it's like this really muted sound. I played around with that concept for a little while, and then I think I found something that I liked. That like it was two guitar parts, but this was one that I liked, so I kind of landed on this. Check it out. After laying that part down, it still felt like it was kind of missing something for me. Not trying to overproduce it, but just making sure I have enough of the feel there. So I kind of played around with it. I said, let me try this other part to see if it's a better like fit, if it's a better complement to the part that I already have for guitar. So So that's pretty much the part that I added. So check this out real quick. obviously at this point, everything is starting to really come together and glue together really well in terms of the concept or the idea that I wanted to do for this track. Again, keeping in mind, I'm not trying to overproduce, because I think that's the challenge oftentimes as musicians, especially producers. You can kind of overthink things, and I think simplicity a lot of times is the key. Now, sometimes, depending on the project, the artist, what you're going for, you got to add some more stuff. You got to stack it. If I was doing this for an artist and that kind of thing, I probably would spend a little bit more time, but for the sake of what it's for in terms of practicing, this is going to be a really short concept. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the vibe, so I'm probably going to go back and develop this into a full either practice jam or a song, that kind of thing. But at this point, I'm kind of happy with where we landed with the whole thing. So at the end of the day, I think it's really important that we never lose just the fun of music. As a professional, I can honestly say, doing this for a number of years, oftentimes you can get so caught up in the gig and just, the having to do it, the hustle and bustle, as some would say, of the gig, that you kind of lose focus of why you started doing what you started doing in the first place. One of the things I was doing with my YouTube channel a few days ago, I was going back to some of my older first videos when I first got on here, and I got back to original intent in terms of, why did you start doing this in the first place? Because again, as a creator, if you're a creator that's watching me, it's easy to become burnt out because you're trying to keep up with the latest wave, or you're trying to make sure that you're satisfying the viewers and all this kind of stuff. So much so to you lose focus on why you started doing it and the reason behind it. For me, the initial thing was just an outlet. I would literally get on here and just post anything in terms of grooves. A lot of stuff, thankfully, I've deleted. It's still not here, but a lot of my old stuff, I left it here because I wanted people who, may be new to me. You can go back and watch the progress and kind of see how I've grown from since, I think I've been doing this since 2009, the early years of YouTube up until now. And there's a lot of progress that's been made, and a lot of shifting that's happened on this channel, as well as my own personal growth that I've tried to be transparent and share. And honestly, that's the main reason I've left the videos there, where you can kind of go back and see them, because it's not a straight line. It just didn't start. I didn't start with a great idea and end up like with this great channel. It's like, no, it started out with me just having fun. And along the way, I came up on some great ideas. I think some great concepts came out of this. I think even with the interviews that we've done with people in some of the past shows, I think some really great content has came about because of me doing this channel. I'm really grateful and I'm thankful for the opportunity that I get to do this. But getting back to original intent in terms of why I started doing it. Granted, you have to keep in mind, like, the things that have changed as you've grown older, as you've matured, as you've gotten a little more advanced in your playing. You understand that you're not at the same place mentally, you're not at the same place emotionally, spiritually anymore. So all those things have to be taken into consideration when you're doing your thing, when you're creating music, when you're playing music. But at the same time, original intent, there's something about original intent that never gets old, that never becomes too dated. It's always relevant, original intent, in terms of why you got into the thing that you're doing. I find so many players that talk to me that have become completely uninspired, especially given a year like 2020 and for some people 2021, how bad those years were with losing loved ones, with losing jobs. Some people lost their homes, and tons of loss that people experience. They just lost their love for music. And one of the things they would ask me is like, what did you do to stay motivated, that kind of thing. It's like, and I think for me, getting back to original intent was huge for me, because that's something that I feel like we all have to do, is get back to the original intent of why you started doing what you're doing. Because if you get away from that, then I think you start to swerve and fall into the trap of watching what everybody else is doing, and playing the comparison game, comparing yourself, trying to measure yourself up against somebody else, instead of seeing what it is you have to offer, what it is you're trying to accomplish, what it is God has put you here for. To me, original intent is everything, because oftentimes the original reason you started was, for most people, pretty pure. It didn't have anything associated with it. It didn't have an agenda. Most people didn't start, even with the music thing, most people didn't start just trying to make money and that kind of thing. Some people had a genuine love for it. They went to a concert, they had a cousin, they had an uncle, they had a friend who they heard play, and they were inspired and they wanted to try it. And so they picked up the instrument and said, I'm going to figure this thing out. And at some point, you started making money, or maybe you haven't, maybe you haven't started making money yet. But some of you guys, you started making money and you lost the inspiration to do it. Maybe you started creating content, and as demand for certain videos went up, you kind of went into that area of what you thought people were expecting from you. And oftentimes, as I said so many times, once you start running after what you think people expect you to be, you can easily lose who you are. With all that being said, my goal is hopefully to inspire you to get back to original intent. Why did you start doing what you're doing? What's your reason behind it? Is there an ulterior motive for you, or is it something that you just genuinely want to be better? You want to genuinely be excellent for the sake of being excellent? I encourage you to do those things that's going to push you. I encourage you to get back to original intent. I encourage you to go back and listen to some of the people who inspired you in the earlier years of you playing. If it's being creative, sometimes you have to step away and be refreshed, kind of like I did, in order so that your wheels can start turning more. And last but certainly not least, if you are a believer, if you're a follower of Christ, include him in your plans, include him in what you're trying to do. Don't edge him out of what you're trying to create. Make him part of it. Make sure that you're creating it, or you're creating something rather that that he would look at and be proud of, and he would smile upon when you offer this thing to God. So don't leave him out of it. Don't edge God out. I heard someone said the acronym for ego, having too much ego. And musicians can really have ego. Edging God out. We don't want to do that. We don't want to edge God out of anything that we have going on, because we understand that if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff. You could set an alarm clock out in the cemetery and let it ring all day and ain't nobody getting up. So we know that there has to be something greater than us that allows us to do what we do. And I think if we can keep it gratitude in the proper place, just simply be grateful every day for the opportunity that you get to do what you do, and go at it with everything that you have. And I think you're going to feel a lot more satisfied with the results that you get in the end. So guys, again, you've been watching Jermaine Morgan. If you're new to this channel, I encourage you to subscribe, turn on my notifications so you don't miss anything that I post. There's a lot more new content coming for you guys, and I think it's something that you're going to like, and it's going to be helpful for you. If nothing else, I'm going to enjoy creating this content, so I hope you'll be around to check it out, to see it. And be sure to share it with somebody if you found something helpful here on this channel. And last but not least, be sure to go over to JermaineMorgan.net. There I have tons of courses, gospel, riffs and licks, bass jam packs, all tons of things to help you to improve what you're trying to do, and ultimately to help you unlock your sound. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Oh yeah, before I forget, I had to restart my whole IG channel. My page was hacked, so I had to start from scratch. So I would really appreciate it if you guys would follow me there at JMorganBass1. If you're already following JMorganBass, that page no longer exists. So be sure to follow me at JMorganBass1 on Instagram, and I will see you guys soon. All right, take care. I'm out. Peace.